I'm Ida Belle Albritton, and I was Ida Belle Pilgrim before I married. And I'm 102 years old. I was 102 January 12th. And if I live for another year, I'll be 103. I grew up with 7 sisters, and 5 brothers. And I was in the middle of the group, and I don't have any siblings left. I'm the only child left that my mother and daddy had. And my mother gave birth to 16 children. And so I grew up with the 13 in the family. We grew up farming. We had to chop cotton, pick cotton, hoe corn, and pick peanuts. And we had potatoes, and my daddy had a watermelon patch. We used to have watermelons, and we enjoyed that. And whenever we were teenagers, when it came to snow, we skated in front of our house, right in front of the porch, and we skated. We skated when the snow came. We skated, and so that was when we were teenagers. We were poor, but we had plenty to eat, and my daddy had cows and chickens and hogs and goats, and we just had plenty to eat. And of course, in the spring and summer, well, my mama, she did a lot of canning, freeze fruits and vegetables, and she'd freeze fruits. She'd freeze fruits out in the sunshine, and we had dried fruit to eat. And so, but we had plenty to eat. But I can remember when I was 10 years old, my sisters, they were milking. We had cows to milk. And so when I was 10 years old, I cried because Mama wouldn't let me try to milk. But anyway, I learned to milk, and I used to milk cows. And whenever I married, when we married, we went down to Henry's folks, and so his mother was always going to the cow pen by herself. She had 3 cows to milk. And so I thought, well, all the rest of the family was sitting at home letting her go out to milk the cows in the afternoon. And so I offered to go help milk the cows. So anyway, I did, and she gave me a cow to milk. So I sat down, and about time I had to milk about half through, well, that cow kicked me in the bucket, and I said I didn't enjoy that cow forever. And then when we moved up here, they carried that same cow up here for us to milk. Well, I didn't like that cow, but she didn't like me either. So but anyway, we finally survived. I graduated from high school, though, in 1939. And I have a picture of our graduating class, and our class was the first class that ever had caps and gowns. And so they've had caps and gowns ever since. After graduation, that was in 39, and so about 40, somehow or another, I don't know what it was, we signed up for NYA. I don't know what that meant. But anyway, young girls could go to work, so I went to work at the high school. In the kitchen, they were feeding the children, and so the cook was there, and so we had helped her with the kitchen, and that was NYA, and so they were going to send me to Georgetown, and I didn't want to go, but anyway, by that time, I had met Henry Albritton, and so we started communicating, and so I didn't go to Georgetown. So anyway, when I met him, we were at church, and he had brought a bunch of his elderly kinfolks down there, and his father, and we were having a church association. So anyway, he had brought them up there, and that's where I met him. And so anyway, we started communicating, and we, as I said, we courted by letters and a few visits whenever he'd come up. This is my wedding picture. Well, we got married. Of course, we got married by the Justice of the Peace, and when we went to church, the pastor lived up in Spearsville, so anyway, Henry just stopped in Hale, where the justice of the peace lived, and told him he wanted us to marry him. I mean, him to us to marry us. And so anyway, we married in Mama's hall. He had a hall down through the middle of the house. Two big bedrooms on this side, and kitchen, dining room, and another bed on the other side, and back porches and front porches. And so, but anyway, we married on Sunday morning, and so the justice of the peace came to the house, and of course my family and some maybe a neighbor or two was there. We spent our honeymoon night, our married night in the bedroom across the hall. So anyway, next day, we went back to Delhi area. Now it was between Dunn and Delhi, and where his parents lived, and where he was farming. And so we went back down there the next day on Monday after we married on Sunday, and they made our picture out in front of the house that afternoon. 59 and a half years, because my husband passed away in 2010, and we married 1941, in October 14, 1941, October 19th, 1941.
Well, do you want to talk about when you and Henry went to Lake Charles?
That was when, during the winter, after he got the crop gathered here, we went down, and he worked in a city service plant down there. And he had to work 7 days a week down there, and that was while Charles was a baby. And so whenever it was getting about time for him to think about farming, we came home. We was down there about three months in the winter. We lived in a trailer park, and we went down there. My sister and her husband came after they were down there, and my brother-in-law was working, so that's why they wanted us to come down there. So we went down there, and so they lived in a trailer, and had a couch on one end of the trailer and a bed on the other end of the trailer. And so anyway, he had 3 children. And so anyway, they slept in the bed with those 3 children, and we slept on the couch for a couple of nights, and then we got a room out to live. So anyway, it wasn't a very good one. It was about a 1-room thing, and so we just stayed there about a week, and it wasn't very, very good. So anyway, we got a chance to move into another 1-room thing, and that room had a couch and a stove and a potty chair, and that was all. It was all in one room, bathroom, potty chair, and a commode. And so anyway, the couch, we had to we had to make the couch down every night for the bed, so that's what we slept on, was the couch. And but anyway, we stayed there and lived in that one until it was time for us to quit and come home. And so, but anyway, when, as I said, he worked 7 days a week. My sister and brother-in-law worked down there, and so they thought maybe that Henry could work down there during the winter, so that's how come us to go down there. And he just went down there because, and I said he made a little bit of money, and so whenever he got home, well, his daddy was working here, and then he was not in good health, and so anyway, he had bought this place, and so Henry knew he wasn't going to be able to pay for it. So Henry said, I'll help you pay for it. So anyway, he helped his daddy pay for this place, about 80 acres, 79 or 8 acres. And so whenever he did that, well, he said, I'll just deed you across the road, over across the road, that'll be yours, and this will be his. So that's how come us to be like that. We moved up here because he didn't have to go, he wasn't going to the service. And so we moved up here, and so he farmed here, and so Charles was born in 43. Charles was born in 43, my oldest son. He was born in 43, and when Henry started to work, well, it was a B&C construction company over in Homer, and so anyway, he got a job with them, and he went over there. They had to stay in Homer that week, and so he stayed there a week, and so he told them, he said, I got a wife and a baby at home. Said, I'm going to quit. So anyway, he said, now, if you got anything in Farmerville that I can work, he said, I'll be glad to do that. So anyway, they sent him home with a truck. And so whenever he got to Cleveland Electric, well, they hired him. And so he worked there for 25 years. And of course, when he was working for Cleveland Electric, after he started off where they were doing a right-of-way. He was doing the chopping and the hook, sawing. That's how they made right-of-ways then. And so anyway, and he started doing that, and then after a while he started working with electricity, and he was a helper, and then he got to being a lineman, and that's when they climbed the poles. December 7th, 1941. Well, we were living down here then, and I don't remember exactly. Well, I know. I don't remember exactly what happened along then, but anyway, my husband had a radio when we married, so we had the radio to listen to, and so then that was in 41. Well, see, we had already married, and so we lived down here then, and so anyway, he and his brothers, and he had 3 brothers, Arthur and Marvin and David. They were in the service, and they had to go and be in the service, and so, but Henry still didn't have to go because, as I said, he was a farmer, and so he had never had to go then. So, but anyway, and of course, and Charles was born then, and so we grew up. He grew up here until 1955. We had to go to Farmerville, and so. But anyway, during the war, my brothers, and I had brothers that had to go to service too, and brothers-in-law, and so we just did the best we could, and we were still. And so when after the war was about over, well, Henry had to go to service because they had called him, so he wasn't farming then, and so anyway. Whenever he had to go out, I thought the world had ended then whenever he had to go off to service. And so when he got to Rayville, he had registered at Rayville. And so when he got to Rayville, well, he said that they asked him, he asked all the people all the men that was there, if any of them had children. He said, I've got a son. He said, well, go home. So he went home, and he didn't have to go to service. But anyway, he had brothers that went to service, and they were in. He had one brother that was really in the bad part of the service, and over in Germany, and he was just in the bad. And he came home with a flight jacket on it with a hole in it where the bullet had went through that jacket. He was on a foxhole, I think. And so, but anyway, that was my brother-in-law. And so, but my brothers. One of them had to go to Philippines. He didn't have to go in the war, but one was in the Philippines, and the other 2 that was in service, they were in Germany. And so during the one of them was a paratrooper, and the other was just in the regular army. And so one of them was Thomas, and one was Dawson. Dawson was the paratrooper, and Thomas was just in the regular army. So they were both in Germany, but they weren't together. But anyway, they met in Germany one time while they were over there. And so they was glad to get to do that. And so when Dawson, they were younger than me. My brother Dawson was a paratrooper. Well, whenever they put him up in the plane and he had to jump out, he said, "I don't think I can." And she said, "They pushed me out." As I said, I'm blessed, and I understand that and I thank the Lord that I am in the shape I'm in, even though I'm 102 years old. I thank God that He's taking care of me. And I said, when I go to bed at night, I said, Lord, I said, You take care of me. Thank you for taking care of me. And I said, I pray for my kids and all the people that I know that's and well, I just pray for everybody. And when my head hits the pillow, that's what I do. I have enjoyed life, really and truly, and I enjoy doing for other people. I really do. That makes me happy, just knowing I can help somebody else.